have to say that in 27 years of service here in the Dail, Mr. Nehan, I've never had such a public reaction conveyed to me by members of the public, indeed some of my colleagues, including Deputy Kelly here, registering their deep disgust and annoyance at the contents of that RTE programme. I think it was an important service, public service broadcasting by the station. And there is a bit of a deficit, and in fairness, Mr. Nehan has referred to as a failure to give yourselves or maybe other interested parties and stakeholders maybe a right to deal with some aspects of the same, which might have been helpful. But certainly there was the main thrust of the programme. You couldn't actually negative or neutralise what was the main thrust of the programme. It's absolutely abhorrent, and the practices that were revealed in the RTE Time Investigates were horrific and abhorrent, and have to be condemned with vehemence and unequivocation. It defies description, I think, the disgraceful treatment of the greyhounds and animals we've seen. And of course, the welfare and care of the greyhounds has to be at the top of everyone's agenda. It's not an afterthought, and it has to be an absolute priority. All illegal behaviour has to be rooted out, Mr. Nehan. And I said here at the last time on behalf of the Labour Party, and I spoke on behalf of our parliamentary party, we have always supported the granting of monies to the horse and greyhound industries. But we certainly will be reserving our position in terms of the greyhounds from here on in. And it's not a decision taken lightly. We're rural people. We know how important it is. But 16.8 million, and I said this before, and 68, the same, there's 80 odd million, 84 million, between two industries. And that, there'll be a lot of children out there who can't get orthodontic treatment. A lot of people out there who can't get anything for children, or a school bus service, or anything like that. A lot of that money would go a long way. And, you know, we're getting to the point there now where these questions are being asked by members of the public, and we have an obligation, a fiduciary obligation to raise issues. And certainly it's something, and I did say that the last time, and we're here discussing the Greyhound Bill, which I had a significant input into with our colleagues here, that I thought that this industry was dancing to the Last Chance Saloon. And I see, you know, this programme would certainly say that maybe it has passed the Last Chance Saloon. But anyhow, all illegal behaviour has to be rooted out without fear or favour. It doesn't make any difference. Wherever it falls, those who absolutely act in a disgraceful and abhorrent way have to be rooted out. It's impossible to say how could a dog be subject to such acts of barbarity, or any animal, or anything. As I said, we spent a long time dealing with the welfare and probity, and dealing with this bill, and the focus is on welfare, top and probity, and integrity, and indeed governance aspects of it. Now, there's lots of people in your industry, Mr. Nehan. There's nearly 240 full-time employees. That's a lot of employees only looking after 7,300 owners. You know, surely there has to be a tracking and tracing mechanism. I know you're bringing forward traceability and stuff like that, identification. Because every animal, Deputy Category, every animal, bovine nature, you can track them from here to Buenos Aires. And until we get to that point in this industry, there'll be questions to answer, and you and your board and all of those top people who seem to be costing the right few quid have to have a job to do. And if they don't do it, they'll find people in here who the 16.8 million won't be going your way. So I think this has always been out. So if there were significant, those deficits and those defects and all of those abhorrences and cruelties are identified, if there's any aspect that law, the Greyhound Bill, Ireland Bill, if that's any aspect that has become apparent since it was passed, which is only signed by the President in May, they should be identified quam celeribet and let us know. And there should be no hiding place for anybody who dopes greyhounds or acts at a maggot, found in possession of illegal substance, and significant penalties and fines. If the legislation is not there, they should be provided for, irrespective of the identity of the transgressor. They'll get their day in court, but if you put up fines and a punishment regime in place, deterrence is an absolute critical aspect of all this. Now, in relation to a number of points I know what you said, that 80% of the remedies seized by the Department of Agriculture relate to the greyhound industry and used as a testament to the regularity. Of course, that's a point. But the converse of that is also true. And I think you'd have to agree with you, I have to put to you. The converse of that is true. 80% is arriving from the one source, one area. That means that 20% of animal remedies must be only arriving from the other sources, which are massive. I mean, you know, look, with a huge number of over 1 million animals in the other sources. And you say we've only, what many, 7,300 owners in this area, and we get 80%. So that's, well, I take your point about looking at it, it indicates a degree of significant regularity and integrity work. The other thing is, there's somebody with some sort of substances, remedies or drugs or whatever they are, that are transgressing. That's a horrific statistic, if you were to look at it. Now with exports, I was here and I raised it, and indeed Deputy O'Sullivan was here, we raised it and we pushed it and pushed it. And what worries me about officials is, no matter how hard we pushed, because the contents of that programme in relation to China and all other places, Malawi was it? Yeah. Because that was available months and months prior to our bill coming here. So it was real evidence, not some airy-fairy stuff, it was there. And we should have taken a lead. Okay, you can talk about European law, but somebody has to take a lead. The European Commission comes forward all sorts of stuff, and some of it we don't like, but we're loaded up with it. We should have taken a lead and put in place strong legislation to prevent exports to countries which have totally appalling and gruesome welfare records and practices. And, you know, I was disappointed with that. That was one aspect of the bill, a massive lacuna. And, you know, whereas proven that there's welfare regimes that are, look, at best, you couldn't describe them as anything but certainly not in accordance with any welfare priorities, or absolutely barbaric in times. Nothing should prevent the application of appropriate legal protections for the welfare of the dog or greyhound or whatever it is. Any animal. Doesn't make, we could widen that to any animal. So I think that's a lacuna in the law that has to be brought back here and tackled without straight away, and the Attorney General has to be brought in, or the government has to step on the thing and get the Attorney General. Now, some of this report, and you've made your pitch there, in fairness, it's well made and well put out, but, you know, my colleague here, Deputy Kelly, back, I think a few months back, he's raising a number of issues in terms of this report that was prepared for you is by preferred results limit. You know, and one of the problems that your industry has, Minister, or Mr. Meehan, and I only refer to you, I know the board, the industry said, it's always reactive. It's it's always reacting to some crisis or something, rather than being proactive. But that is all the signals of somebody being asleep at the wheel. You know, so I mean, that's the, we worked at that Greyhound Bill. It was here for the guts of 3 years. As far as I can remember, about 2016, we started to kick this about during Andrew Dail's time, the Minister. He's now Minister. So you should have been ready to hit the press button the minute the bill was signed by President Higgins. But then you had to wait, and as soon as this come out, you were away out of the traps, to use it. But I want to go back to what was exercises my colleague, Deputy Kelly, who is fairly sharp on those things. I want to know now, when did the Irish Greyhound Board commission the report by the preferred results limited? Did you inform, or your predecessors or whoever, inform the department when they were commissioned? And when did the department see the report? Now, considering now this report come into being, which seems to have had a significant input into this programme, when was that report finalised? And more importantly, when did the department see the report? Or when did you tell them about it? You say there, which is very interesting, and I want to be fair to you. Preferred Research undertook analysis of the Greyhound pool and did that part of the brief. Well, I want to know, what was the brief? What was the brief given the preferred results limited? What analysis did you ask them to undertake? Or what were the charges with carrying out at all? Because this, you said, we'd like to know what brief were they given, what analysis were they asked to do, what aspects of the industry were they invited to examine. Because there appears to be a little part of it that went out, say, the brief according to yourselves. And the minute that went out, lo and behold, what you've done was, you threw it in the bin. And here's a report that was commissioned by yourselves. And remember, you certainly long now after selling Harold's Cross to clear up things. Here's a report. I want to know how much that report cost. You've commissioned a report, it costs money, and you threw it in the bin. Well, now, there's reports prepared every day of the week for people here and for everywhere else across the country, and if they don't like some element of the report, they don't throw it in the bin. Just because you don't like an aspect of it, you publish it. Because you're in a different position than a private company, although they're accountable to the shareholders too. But a big shareholder, even if not nominated share, is the Irish taxpayer. And they paid for the report. So they should be entitled to see what the contents of it was. So, you know, why was the report commissioned and not published? Even if your board disagreed with it. And the only figure they could disagree with is the almost 6,000 unaccounted for dogs. And of course that's a reflection on everybody, because not having a system of identification or tracing or anybody else. So those are important issues that has to be we have to get the answers to, because certainly in order to be supportive of any more monies going to the greyhound industry, we want answers for those, because they're part of the 16.8 million package in terms of the money that's going in. We have to find out how much those things cost and why were they not published.